Okay, so we'll get started. So the topic for today is paperweight, tips in effective and efficient grading. I have a YouTube video here, so hopefully we can hear it.
Alright, and I'd use that as my answer key. But these are essay questions. Now if I were to read these, it would take forever, so I don't. So I look at their mark going into it, and like Maya, where's Maya? Has the highest mark in the class. There she is. So that's my answer key.
Oh, you already know the answers?
Sometimes there's I gotta give her a good mark, a couple circles, and then sometimes too vague.
Right.
That way I don't have to give her 100.
Yeah,
The only way
keep
to
it
mark
realistic.
96, I give her a little more than she has going up. That way she won't come back. Right. Challenge me. That's
Good system.
Jimmy, look at Jimmy. Nothing.
Right, so nothing.
Garbage. Waste of time. 33, there's some words there, but I have no time to read them. So then I get angry. Jimmy, ridiculous. This has got to stop.
He can say the same thing to you.
Okay, you got the system?
Yeah, it's a good system, buddy.
You do those ones.
You want me to mark them?
You don't really mark, you just
Alright.
put marks on it. And you put a circle, you circle a number.
I'm a forger.
Okay, here's Mike. Now, Mike, he's got a 62.
You should give him an 80.
Give him an
make
80.
his day.
Make his day.
Right.
Okay? And he goes home, his parents are excited. I like that. Finally.
Like you've been rooting for him the whole time.
Yeah, about time. Thank
About
you.
time.
This person, Shauna, I don't like her.
Oh.
Drives me nuts.
Right.
So what I do is I fail her on the exam, but I just give her enough to pass the course. I don't have to teach her. So it's like a lot of check marks, question marks, underlines, and things. Couple good comments.
Mediocre.
I've used that one. That's a good one. Happy face. Smile.
That's disturbing.
You are almost a teacher.
That's awesome.
So hopefully grading is not like that for us, but I think we can all understand the weight that is involved in grading, especially written assignments that take much time. So anyways, why are we talking about this? Couple thoughts here. It's obviously neither beneficial for teachers nor students to spend hours and hours grading and writing assignments in particular, because those are what can take that much time. Teachers tend to assign work less often as a result of that, so they don't want to invest those hours, so less written work is given to students. And as a result, students have less experience, less fluency with writing, and don't achieve the potential in that area. So we need to balance effectiveness with efficiency in this area. So here's some learning goals for us today. So one thing that I'd like to accomplish is listing several methods that you can use to grade essays efficiently. Another is evaluating which of these options makes the most sense in your own classroom, or how you envision implementing it in a classroom setting. So that's why I provided index cards, but you guys, some of you have brought some writing materials. So if you just want to make notes on there or whatever, we'll have a time at the end just to talk about a few of these ideas. Okay, so getting into the different methods. The first one is a quick write, which I think we're all familiar with, but it's an informal timed writing session, usually with a required amount of lines or words. It usually, or writing frequently, I apologize, writing frequently aids fluency. So timed writes or quick writes are good for this because they're shorter and you can do them more often. That frequency helps students get that fluency. Lemos in Teach Like a Champion refers to it as a no opt-out culture, where everyone gets a chance to express themselves. So in a quick write setting, every student can be engaged. It doesn't matter their ability level. Everyone can achieve this type of writing, and so everyone is involved. It can also be used as a credit, no credit situation, so the teacher doesn't have to spend time grading for specific things. Some other ideas though with quick writes. It can be graded over the shoulder. So there's an idea in my research that I found where the teacher can just take a class roster and go around as the students are writing and view their writing and give them credit based on that at the moment, instead of then collecting it and giving them credit later on. So they're using the class time to grade essentially. And then quick writes can span the full range of Bloom's taxonomy. So depending on what question you ask, it can be in multiple levels. And then one professor, Dr. Yee from South Florida University, said, don't announce if it will be graded until after it's collected. So they don't know whether it's a credit, no credit, or whether you're grading over the shoulder, or that sort of thing. So that way they can all be involved all the time. So that's one method, just quick writes there. Another one is minimalist grading. So this involves codes or check marks or other minimal methods to communicate with the students. This could be grading the entire paper for content while only grading maybe one paragraph or one page for surface level things. That could be one type of minimalist grading. Another idea is to use highlighter colors. So one color could be for strengths and one could be for areas that need improvement. Another highlighter idea is matching the rubric categories to a highlighter color so that when you highlight things they can coordinate that way. So that's minimalist grading. This next idea is somewhat related, but it has its own name, and we'll talk about the differences, but it's focus correction areas. FCAs involve selecting a few criteria to grade rather than grading for everything. So for instance, when you collect an essay, students know ahead of time that you're only grading for specific techniques, standards that are being sought after. An acquaintance of mine does this. She teaches at a public school setting where she teaches one grade level of English. She has like 180 students, so every time she assigns an essay, that's 180 essays that she collects. So instead of grading for everything, there are like 3 things that she's looking for in each essay, and that way she can spend just a few minutes on each paper. And in that way it helps her grade. So it definitely makes grading less time consuming. It allows for frequent focused feedback. Because you're only grading for a few things, you can therefore hopefully assign more writing assignments in general. And it allows for versatility. So this can be used in any content area. It doesn't just have to relate to English language arts, but it can also be adapted for essays, poems, stories, any sort of writing can be used with this. The next area is recording commentary. So instead of using written feedback, you could do something electronically, digitally, where you use a voice memo or another recording method to provide feedback orally for the students to listen to. That could be as simple, almost every teacher has a cell phone that they could use or a laptop that they could record audio with, most of us. It allows for more total potential feedback, because sometimes it's hard to read as we're grading quickly. It's hard to read our notes, or either by nature of handwriting or fewer words on the paper. So it allows more total feedback, more clarity in what's given to them. Anderson and Speck said it puts the burden of learning on the student because they have to listen to your feedback and then hopefully work towards solving that. Sometimes in the research that I gathered, the recording commentary is mostly given for drafts, and then not the final draft, but the drafts leading up to the final revision. One professor in Anderson and Speck's research said that it made him a more judicious and thoughtful grader. So it made him think about what his feedback would be more carefully. So given these 4 or so different methods of feedback, I thought we could have a short discussion here. So the first question I have is, which one of the preceding methods you found intriguing, interesting, and why?
I like the oral feedback. It'd be interesting to see what way of communication that you can mask it to students if you needed infrastructure with the school or with, I don't know if you can do that in like Google Suites or something like that, but it seems like you would be able to have almost individual like discussions with each student, and probably take you less time even to than writing out a few thoughts on a piece of paper.
Yeah, it gives you a wider range of feedback options, and also you as the grader, you're not as worried about the system of marks as you are just the thoughts. And so I thought that was very intriguing. Really everything aside from the quick write was intriguing. I like the idea of the focused content areas, that was called correction areas. So I as a coach, I'd have thought of, like, you know, when you play a game, you cannot correct every single thing every single game. So you do end up focusing on maybe a couple areas that you're trying to improve in each game, and they're still playing, they're still writing, but they're working on just a couple of those areas, and it allows you to do that more effectively, and maybe even map those out with the standards throughout the year. I thought that was I thought that was very good.
Yeah, I like the oral feedback, particularly for rough drafts, because I think it allows you to take portions of their essay and maybe highlight it, and even as a teacher, it's kind of an extra layer of peer editing, because you can actually read a sentence out loud and they can hear it, and you can suggest, maybe rephrase in this way, and they can hear it, because a lot of students don't have somebody read their paper out loud to them, and so even hearing things can help you catch mistakes.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I mean, it kind of reminds me of almost like a workshopping of sorts.
Yeah.
You're not physically next to each other, but they're getting the same sort of feedback with that.
Yeah, and you are limited to what you can write in feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really write, you're not going to rewrite a sentence.
We write all their sentences.
Because that just would take forever, but you can speak it pretty quickly. I feel like you, as a teacher, after going through a few of them, you'd only really have to go through the paper once and almost at full speed, which is like, that would be a miracle, or seem very advantageous. Is that, there's so much to plow through. So that's good.
Yeah, cool. I think that's a good discussion, so thank you guys.